Gentlemen, why have you bought a baseball team?
It's a good question. I figured that might be
One of the first
ones up. And look, I think we've spoken previously about our growth agenda. It's a really strong growth agenda as a football club, and that comes in a couple of ways. One of those is through the traditional revenue streams and traditional areas of the football club. Our fan base is critical to that, and we grow our fan base. We look at sponsorship and membership and ticketing and the like. And but the other way, increasingly, is through diversifying what we do and looking for new opportunities for growth and engagement. And we've assessed a number of those. You saw the first notable part of our diversification strategy last year when we acquired an esports team in Legacy. And this is an extension of that. And when we looked at baseball, it's really, really interesting. It's got a passionate fan base and community here in South Australia. We've got a revamped national league that is going from 6 to 8 teams, and including teams from Korea and New Zealand. It's a global powerhouse as a sport. Really strong in Asia and the US. So there's just plenty that we liked about it, and whether that's fan development, market development, commercial development, and just building on the work that Baseball SA have put in over the last series of years, and looking to, I suppose, apply our resources and our expertise in sports management to try and ensure that baseball is going to be prosperous and successful for many years to come.
Is it that overseas element that excites you the most, being able to perhaps go to Asia and America?
Well, definitely one of the attractions. 4 of South Australia's leading export partners, Japan, Taiwan, the US, Korea are all, well, Korea and New Zealand are going to come in and participate in this competition. So it broadens our reach, gives us that international exposure. And just going back to your earlier question, around the growth strategy, Andrew probably wouldn't say this, but I can say it for him. He and his team have some expertise and some capability in sports management and sports administration. And when we talk about growing businesses, you should play to your strengths. And as Andrew said, we've assessed a lot of opportunities. They come across our desk all the time. And this one we just thought fits hand in glove. It's South Australian. It's about helping a local team. We think they deserve to have the opportunity to be the best they can. And as I said, Andrew and his team have some capability to lend to them and build upon the great base that they've built on over a number of years.
So they train at West Beach at the Bite. Is there potential for the Crows to share that as a training base going forward, perhaps train out there?
It's not a part of the plans at the moment, Tommy, but good thinking. I like the fact you've gone left field on that one. So you like see what I did there? Left field? You like that?
Branding-wise, do we see any Crows in the Bite or Bite in the Crows at all? Colours or logos or anything?
At the moment, the Bite will continue to operate as the Bite. Obviously, there's been equity built into that brand, and said we're going to sit there and provide capability, support, and looking to drive growth. But for the sport of baseball and for the benefit of both baseball and the Crows. But and look, I have no doubt you'll see some of our players down there, and there'll be some integration of sorts, but nothing in terms of colours or logos.
You talk about expansion opportunities that have come across your desk. Did you consider Thunderbirds or 36ers, or is that something you're going to look at in the future?
Well, look, we've considered a lot of things, and we don't rush into any of them. And I think we've established a company, Adelaide Sports and Entertainment, that effectively under which things like esports, our esports team, our media business and baseball sit. And I'll suggest to you, in the future there might be other things that could get added to that, but they've got to suit, or tick a number of boxes and suit sort of our needs, and we need to be really comfortable that we can add value to those organisations that we might partner with. So it'd be inappropriate to talk about what we may have considered, but I'd certainly suggest to you that there might be others added down the track.
How comfortable are you that it won't impact on your core business, which is of course football and Japan?
Reece, it was probably one of the first questions that the board asked of Andrew, and let me emphasise this. this will have no impact on the football club. The people running the football side of the business will continue to run it and devote 100% of their time and energy and resource to fulfilling their obligations and achieving the best that they can. You know, Andrew and his team, you know, if they weren't going out to assist the Bite be the best that they can, they'd be doing something else. So it's just a replacement of task and function, but it's a really good question. It's something the board asked Andrew the first time and he mitigated with the right answer. It'll have no impact, zero impact on football and their resource and the time spent, you know, making sure that they do what they're here to do.
Essentially, our commercial team, fan engagement, membership team, our media and communications team, our events team, marketing team, they spend their days just trying to grow the football club, make us strong in every sort of facet of our operations, and this is an extension of that. Whether that's bringing on board new partners or bringing on board another 5,000, 10,000 members, it's all about trying to grow our base, and this is just another part of that.
What sort of money changed hands? What did you pay for the Bite?
You know, as part of the revamping of the league, there's no capital outlay. It's just a commitment, obviously, to fulfil the terms of the licence that the ABL and Baseball Australia have granted us. So it's effectively a zero cash transaction.
And what sort of ongoing expenses do you anticipate you'll have to find to maintain that relationship with the Bite?
Yeah, no, we're really confident in the modelling that we've done that this will be a net positive for the Bite and for the Adelaide Footy Club.
Have you looked at a few other organisations around the world? I know Reece mentioned a few in his article this morning that have sort of done similar, handed a few different camps. Have you looked at those and sort of picked ones that have worked well and ones that haven't worked well to learn from this expansion? Yeah, certainly what we're doing is not new on a global scale, and you're right, there are a number of very large clubs internationally that have taken a similar approach, and I'm close to the guys at the Harris Blitzer Sports Group and the Philadelphia 76ers who own the New Jersey Devils. They've got an innovation lab, they've got part ownership in Crystal Palace, and run a venue in the Prudential Centre. So it's not unusual, and through that through the conversations that we've had with them, we've taken some learnings, and they've certainly underpinned some of the decisions that we've made in this regard.
Rob, obviously there's a bit happening on the field with the footy team at the moment as well. As a board, as a collective, are you comfortable where the club is at with the injuries? I know a lot of it can't be helped with luck, etc., like on the weekend with the eye for Richard Douglas, but as a board, are you satisfied that everything that can be done is being done to prevent issues? Yeah,
Tom, expecting the question, and the governance structure that we have here at the Adelaide Football Club is one in which the coach and the head of football and by invitation people like Matty Hass in charge of strength and conditioning, they attend the board meeting on a monthly basis. So there's no sort of this 3-month looking back and getting long lists and then trying to mitigate experiences. So look, we're asking the questions all the time. I don't think a day or two would go by where each of those people I mentioned aren't challenged or questioned. Are we doing the right things? Are we doing enough of or too much of certain activities? And they're quite experienced at what they do naturally. They've been here for a few years now. Last year was a good year in terms of, games lost to injury. This year, not so good. So, look, examining all that, I'm sure they're reaching some conclusions, but is the board happy with that? We're happy with, in terms of the process that's being undertaken, and make sure that we don't get, more of the same. But, poke in the eye, Dougie, I mean, not much we can do to prevent that, as an example.
Did you recommend any changes, Rob, or when you sat down and obviously Don said earlier in the year they would have to make some changes to the program, did you help recommend any, and are you satisfied the changes have taken effect? I
think the opposite occurs. This is the talent that we've got within the football club. They'll, acknowledge what needs to be done, more of or less of, and then they'll recommend that to us. Our job is to make sure we're asking the right questions and making sure that the right process is being undertaken to get to the right result. So I'm confident that's occurring, and faith obviously in Don and Brett and Matt and all of those people, and you know, I know the team are and the players full confidence in it. They'll tweak things, and they're probably starting to think about doing some things differently, you know, for next year even, but way too early to be talking about that.
It is important to recognise that reviews are ongoing at all times in footy clubs, and they're even when things are tracking really well, they review on a week-to-week basis just how you can either tweak to improve or tweak to address any issues that arise. So the comments that Rob are making, that happened last year and the year before as well as this year, so it's not actually a new series of conversations, it's just an ongoing review that they take place, and the guys are, you know, we know that fans can be a little frustrated. I know that's your next question, and we might get frustrated, but no one will be more frustrated than those guys themselves, and you know, they're working really hard to ensure that they can make any changes that they think are necessary to give us the best chance of getting our list out on the park.
And good structures will have the ability to adapt mid-season, adapt from week to week, you know, depending upon, you know, what they're confronted with. And I've been impressed in Don's ability to adapt the program for, you know, where we find ourselves.
What about the questions of transparency? How did your board deal with those?
You know, I've sat and, well, not here, but listened to the questions that are being asked. I've listened to the responses that have been given. We have no agenda to conceal an injury. I can't see where there's an advantage for us in concealing an injury. What I've learnt, and I talk to Don fairly regularly, he can't escape me, and I ask him those questions, and the response he gives me is things change. You know, he can sit here at a press conference post-training. By the time he gets back to the change rooms and the boys have warmed down after doing a 40-minute, you know, high-intensity training session, there could have been, like there has been, a couple of instances that he didn't know about when sitting in the press conference that he discovers 20 minutes later. What I've now learnt is things change, and things change rapidly. But please don't for a moment think that, you know, we're lying about that or hiding those things. There's nothing to be gained from it. We don't play games. So that's my response.
Brad Crouch would be a good example, though, Rob. I suppose Channel 7, maybe 3 weeks ago, said that Brad Crouch would need groin surgery. And Taylor Walker, Eddie Betts, Don Bite denied that was the case. Did Channel 7 just get lucky on a punt there, or was that a case of 4 weeks?
So would Channel 7 know, or would the 4 internal and external medically trained professionals have a better idea? So at the time 4 weeks ago, surgery was an option, but it wasn't the best option then. And only, I can't remember, Fags, it might have been Thursday or Friday of last week, that those 4 specialists in the area that is concerning Brad reached a conclusion that, okay, we've given it the best shot, now surgery's required. And Brad had surgery yesterday and it was successful. And so that's how that transpired. That's a classic of what I was talking about. Things change, and it's hard to control.
Well, I think if we thought Brad was going to have surgery 3 weeks ago, then Brad would have had surgery 3 weeks ago. Is the simplest way to answer it. Things change. So the suggestion that was in any way had some underlying, you know, tone that was different to that is actually quite silly.
How is he?
I haven't spoken to him since surgery, but the reports coming back just this morning from yesterday's surgery are that it all went, you know, well, was successul, but we look forward to getting a full report soon.
Can I just ask another quick question about the acquisition of the Bite?
That would be amazing.
I'm sure you'd be happy with it. Logistically, how's it going to work? Ultimately, who will make decisions about coaching staff, player list, facilities, that sort of stuff? Who will ultimately make those decisions?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question. I'll promise you one thing, that Rob and I won't be making decisions on the roster, but you know, we've obviously got an existing GM of baseball operations in Davo. We've got Tank standing over there in the corner of the room, who will continue as manager. So, you know, they'll build their roster out and continue to run the operations of the team, but they'll report into into the football club, so that we'll provide the overall governance for the operations
Right,
of
so
the
there'll be
team.
like a subcommittee that answer to the board.
Yeah, well, ultimately it'll come through me, and then I report up to the board.
Well, regards Rob, I'm not sure, just quickly, I'm not sure how much you can say, but in terms of the contracts, I'm talking Sloan and Leach. Don was as positive as we've heard him last week, and that's obviously exciting for fans. Do you share that same level of confidence?
Tom, I understand the necessity to ask that question, and unfortunately for you, today's not the day to deviate from our strategy of not giving a running commentary on contracts. It doesn't benefit us. I understand the need for the question, but got nothing to add on it.